Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin in Kenya, where a peaceful protest led to a riot in the streets of Nairobi. Take a look at this video as demonstrators clashed with police. It started when a group of people opposed to President Uhuru Kenyatta carried posters of opposition leader Raila Odinga and chanted, "Uhuru must go." Police fired tear gas canisters to disperse the crowds that had climbed over statues and marched through the streets. Odinga called for a mass rally in the capital to demand dialogue with the government over a range of grievances, including the recent militant attacks and economic slowdown. Well, joining us now from Nairobi is Viewers East Africa correspondent Gabe Joselow. Gabe, things seem to have gotten a little tasty over there. Tell us what happened.
Well, like you said, the opposition supporters had gathered for this major rally, the Saba Saba Day rally in Nairobi. It was mostly peaceful, but there were a few clashes with police. Some of the protesters just got a little bit rowdy, started throwing stones at a lot of the police forces that were out there. And towards the end of the rally, actually just ran through the streets of downtown Nairobi. And we were running sort of after them. We could hear gunshots as police fired into the air to disperse the crowds. The smell of tear gas was still in the air, but order was restored pretty quickly. Actually, the streets of Nairobi were much more quiet than they usually are at this time of night on a weekday, because there was so much fear about violence erupting from this rally.
Now, talk about that rally. It has been in the news for a long time. It was anticipated. What was the turnout? What did it achieve today?
Well, yeah, there were thousands of people who came out for this rally. There was a really enormous police presence. You had people from the Army, from the National Police, from the National Youth Service, all out there screening people who were coming into Uhuru Park, which is right there in downtown Nairobi. The opposition supporters were calling for a dialogue. They were calling for reforms. The biggest issue for people was about security, as there had been a lot of attacks, especially along the coast. Other people concerned about unemployment, about the slow process of devolution, which was promised by the Constitution. And so they came out with a list of demands, basically, for the government, and a call, again, for a dialogue with the Jubilee administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now, this country has a parliament, and this is the official opposition. Do they explain why they're taking things to the streets rather than talk about these things in parliament?
Well, I mean, a lot of this was driven by the personality of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who, of course, is like the leading opposition figure in Kenya. He was gone from the country for a few months, but he's come back. He doesn't really have an official position. He's not really in parliament. So a lot of this was very much personality driven. It was a chance to really make their voices heard, and to show that they still have popular support in the country, that they can still draw big crowds. And now, while they did say that this was a call for a dialogue, it did feel like a pre-election rally. A lot of people calling for Kenyatta to leave, a lot of people chanting for Raila to take over State House. So, you know, who knows? It could be a foreshadowing of a future political move by the former Prime Minister.
Now, what has been the response from the government side?
The government, well, they had the very heavy security presence there to make sure that things didn't get out of hand. One of the controversial moves that we think came down from the government was that the TV stations here were not showing the actual event live. There seemed to be a ban on that. And before the event, there was a lot of criticism of Odinga and the other opposition supporters for wanting to hold a rally that the Jubilee administration saw as being divisive.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabe, for that great reporting there from Nairobi.